Micah Parsons has requested a trade officially with Cowboys VP Stephen Jones as of this morning. He tweeted it out to the world, and now everybody here in Oxnard is reacting to it, including Stephen Jones, who was just a moment ago down on the field here to my right with a cell phone pressed to his ear trying to figure out what to do about what has just gone off here in Oxnard, the bomb that has dropped on Cowboys training camp. Mike Leslie, Jonah Javad, Michelle Montaigne here with you for a instant reaction show here on WFA Plus. Quite the situation here, guys. What is your initial reaction to what we have seen here in the last? It's probably not even been an hour since this tweet came out.
Same old Cowboys. Like this is just I
Mm-hmm.
think back to what was it, 6 years ago now, the Zeke Elliott debacle and how it's always this time of year the Cowboys are going to dominate the headline for something silly that they don't need to, contract related. And yeah, I just remember Zeke flying
Zeke who?
back and forth to Cabo and the photos of him on the plane. And every day it was the Zeke. We were doing a Zeke holdout countdown. We caught him at the airport, and it was this whole thing, and it was on ESPN and Sports Center and all this. And here we are once again on August 1st, Cowboys dominating the headlines with another contract dispute, this time escalated because Micah Parsons is really appears to be fed up. So not surprised it got to this point, not surprised in really any way, shape, or form, but I don't think Cowboys fans really are either, maybe to some extent.
I'm not surprised that they're dominating the headlines. I am actually surprised from the standpoint of star players don't request trades from the Dallas Cowboys. And we have seen this happen so many times with Zeke, with Zach Martin, with CeeDee Lamb just last year. I mean, we knew the holdout was going to come, but the fact that it's resulted in this, I mean, if I think about the star players, at least in recent memory, even Dak's contract, like all those contracts eventually got done. They didn't. I mean, I guess it's not like Micah is for sure walking at this point. Like they can still figure something out. But I think I'm more surprised at the fact that for once a star player is actually giving us some insight into what it's been like having these negotiations with Jerry Jones. Think about like CD was obviously unhappy, but he was like kind of subtweeting last year. Like he didn't get into this amount of detail about how it actually went. So I think that's where I'm just a little bit more surprised.
I think if you're Micah, you're
Yeah,
really
no,
annoyed
I
because.
don't think.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was just saying I don't think, to your point, Michelle, that this is the end of this saga by any means. This is frankly the beginning of it really ramping up, because I think if nothing else, Jerry Jones has met his equal in terms of media shenanigans and hyping up everything in Micah Parsons. The moment they drafted Micah Parsons, here you go, Jerry. It's Micah Parsons has Jerry Jones in check right now. What you gonna do?
Pretty
They'll
much.
come up with something. I'd be very surprised if Micah Parsons isn't on the field week 1 in Philadelphia, suited up for the Dallas Cowboys, because this is just the latest move in this entire process. Our Ed Werder just reported that despite all of this, Micah isn't planning on leaving Oxnard. He's not leaving training camp. He's still going to be around. So let's get into what Micah actually.
But that's part of it,
Sorry,
real
bud.
quick, before you get into what he wrote. I mean, that's kind of part of it, right? Like if he really didn't want to be a member of the Cowboys, he would not be there. He would be gone. He would have left camp. He would have made something that is a little bit more of a definitive statement instead of just kind of posts on social media and trying to win the court of public appeal. So it's for me, it's I look at this as just this is part of their contract dispute, but it's all playing out in public as opposed to behind closed doors where normally these things happen. And so I think Micah is probably really frustrated that he, in good faith, came to Cowboys camp expecting a deal to get done quick. And now he's more than halfway through their sessions in Oxnard, still without a deal. And all he's doing is just watching from the sideline, which eats him up because, as we know, he couldn't even last through a mini camp without throwing on a helmet and getting out there. So, yeah, I know it's eating at him for sure.
It's lunacy. All of this is lunacy, but it is just so par for the course for this organization that it just doesn't even feel like this is actually a problem. It's a situation that they're going to have to work through. They're going to have to probably mend some fences here for a second. But there's no way that Jerry Jones is trading Micah Parsons. And there's probably no way that this doesn't come to a resolution with Micah still on the roster. Let's
I
get
mean,
to what Micah
yeah.
actually had to say. His tweet that was headlined, "Thank you, Dallas," came out right as we were all sitting down to George Pickens and Kyer Elam's press conferences today. It was during Pickens' press conference, so much so that Pickens didn't even get asked about this. And then Kyer Elam is the one who kind of drew the short straw of having to field a couple of questions, one from Jeff Kolb, one from me about he's looking at us going, I didn't even know this happened. What do you guys talk? As it literally happened moments before he took to the podium. Micah tweeted out, "Yes, I wanted, past tense, wanted to be here. I did everything I could to show that I wanted to be a Cowboy and wear the star on my helmet. I wanted to play in front of the best fans in sports and make this America's team once again. The team my pops and I grew up cheering for way up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, I no longer want to be here. I no longer want to be held to closed door negotiations without my agent present. I no longer want shots taken at me for getting injured while laying it on the line for the organization, our fans, and my teammates. I no longer want narratives created and spread to the media about me. I had purposely stayed quiet in hopes of getting something done, but since there is confusion out there, let me clear some things up. I had my agent reach out to the Cowboys last offseason after my third year in hopes of getting a deal done early. Unfortunately, the team did not want to start any negotiations at that point. I was okay with that, didn't complain, and focused on the 2024 season. After the season, I told my agent once again to let the team know we were open to negotiate when they met at the combine. My agent informed me I should wait for other deals to get done because the price would only go up, which, by the way, is exactly what has happened over the course of the last 5 or 6 months. But I didn't. That was my aside, by the way, just to make that abundantly clear to our audience. That was a quick editorial note. Back to what Micah said. But I didn't care and wanted to secure myself as a Cowboy long term. This was before any of the other pass rushers deals got done. Okay, it seems like Okay, I'm now parsing through exactly how he screenshot his own. there's some overlap in his screenshots, which threw me off here. This was before any of the other pass rushers deals got done this offseason. I knew I would be leaving money on the table, but again, I was okay with that. Again, radio silence as far as my extension. In March, I met with Mr. Jones to talk about leadership. Somehow the conversation turned into him talking contract with me. Yes, I engaged back and forth in regards to what I wanted from my contract, but at no point did I believe this was supposed to be a formal negotiation. And I informed Mr. Jones afterward. My agent reached out thinking this would get things done. But when my agent reached out and spoke, of course, told him that wasn't the case, and also reached out to Stephen Jones. Again, the team decided to go silent. At that point, we decided we would allow the team to reach out to us whenever they decided they wanted to talk. Yet still not a call, email, or text to my agent about starting a negotiation. Up to today, the team has not had, and again, I've got to find where he had the overlap in his screenshot. Up to today, the team has not had a single conversation with my agent about a contract. Not one demand has been made by my agent about money, years, or anything else. Still, I stayed quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the narratives, I have made a tough decision. I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally. Close quote. There's a lot there. There's a ton to unpack. There is a lot of questions about why this has gone down the way that it has. I remember hearing from people close to Micah during March when those initial conversations were happening, excitement that, hey, here we go. We're talking early. This is, there were reports back then. I didn't report it this way because I didn't feel like that was the actual reality of the situation based on what I was hearing. But there were reports back in March that a deal was imminent. They were having conversations. They were going back and forth. And clearly, the Cowboys evidently thought they were close here to having this deal done. Mulligetta, Micah Parsons' agent, through all of this. And that has created a significant rift here Now that we've read through the entirety of a rather lengthy statement from Micah Parsons, we talked about this before we jumped on the air, but what are some of the things that really jump out to you guys that are most important about what Micah had to say?
Joni, you can go ahead. I know you said the March part was.
Yeah, well, I think there was a lot of optimism about this because of the discussions that Micah and Jerry had, um, back in the springtime, and that, it eventually kind of come to fruition. One thing that did not surprise me about this was Micah being transparent about how the agents do play a role in these contract disputes dragging on, especially with the Cowboys, because they know the Cowboys end up really paying these at the end of the day. So from an agent standpoint, if you're trying to get your player the maximum amount of money on the contract, especially guaranteed money, which is really what David Mulugeta is known for across the league, typically you wait for all the other top tier players at that position to sign their extensions. So then you come in at the end and reset the market value up until the next offseason. And so from my expectation, I kind of thought that was going to be the case from the start of this. Micah told us way back in the spring that he was okay. I think even during the tail end of last year that he was okay not, making 40 mil a year, and that he wanted a deal to get done. He was okay not having, he was okay resetting the market early before the other guys. Agents typically don't view it that way. They're trying to look out for the maximum dollar. And so that's why when some of these contract things play out, it's not all just on the Cowboys doing nothing. Sometimes it's the agent saying, we're going to hold off until August because we know you end up paying. We've got a player who's going to reset the market. And we've seen it because they've had guys who have reset the market almost literally every offseason. In fact, I think it is going back every offseason where Dak became highest paid quarterback last year, week one, or CeeDee Lamb reset it, I believe, when he signed his deal. Zeke, when he signed his 6 years ago, Zach Martin when he got his pay raise. So if you're an agent, you're always going to wait. And so I appreciated Micah's transparency there to kind of shed light on that. Like, this wasn't just, us waiting for the hear from the Cowboys, that there was some strategy involved to wait. But those deals are done now. Like, Myles Garrett's been signed. TJ Watt's been signed for weeks. I mean, I know Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals is still holding out, but he's a totally different situation, different age marker and, career longevity standpoint. So for Micah, I mean, whatever he signs is going to reset the market. So, yeah, at this point, it doesn't really make much sense why they would drag this on. We've talked about it ad nauseum really over the last 3 weeks. So
4 years.
Yeah.
I think, Mike, what you were saying about like back when, we were hearing things come out in March. I mean, I remember specifically at the NFL owners meetings, Jerry talking with reporters and him saying at the time, like, he didn't even know Micah's agent's name. And the fact that like he continues to lean into that. I think at camp earlier this month, or I guess it's August, but July, he once again was like, yeah, I haven't talked to his agent. I think the part that you asked, kind of our instant reaction of that post, I think the part that really stuck out to me more so was Micah acknowledging that he's taking these kind of hits from Jerry in the media about, I am laying everything I have out on the line week in, week out. I'm being injured. I'm playing through whatever. And yet I'm being criticized openly by Jerry. I think that part was because everything else, like you guys have said, is kind of in line with what we expect. Not only is it the way that the Cowboys operate, the timeline in which the Cowboys operate on, but it's also part of the media spectacle, right? Like, this is just what it's like. And we've seen it, as Jonah just said, for 6 years in a row now. But I think the part that was a little bit different, a little eye-opening, was Micah being like, look, I don't want to take these shots because I do, lay it all on the line for you, Jerry. And now you're just kind of throwing shade at me. Like, what is that about? I don't know. I mean, as you guys just said, they're both very, we'll call it media savvy. I don't know if savvy is the right word, but they're very, they know how to get the clicks. They know how to get the eyeballs on them, each in their own ways. But I do wonder if Micah putting that out there publicly is a way of him kind of sending Jerry a message in the form that we were talking about, like in a very public forum.
CeeDee Lamb was going through this exact situation a year ago this time, holding out from camp, not practicing with the team, but also not physically here in Oxnard, which is different than what Micah has done to this point. And very clearly, he is rolling his eyes at all of this morning. He's sharing on his Instagram story a little bit ago, just SMH, and then posting on Twitter a little bit later on. And I'm scrolling up to find this tweet. Never fails, dog. Just pay the man what you owe him. No need for the extracurricular. And it, again, we've seen this happen time and again. We've seen it happen with Dak. We've seen it happen with CD. We're now seeing it happen with Micah. We saw it happen even on some level with Zach Martin. We saw this happen with Des Bryant a decade ago. This is not new, but it does make you wonder, especially when the players themselves get to the point where they're like, okay, enough for this nonsense. Multiple defensive players changing their Twitter profile pictures today to pictures of Micah Parsons in solidarity with him. There is an element of fed upness, if you will, within this Cowboys roster. And if you're a player somewhere else around the league watching this saga happen, what about this is appealing? What about this makes you go, hey, when my contract's up, I want to go play there?
You're Tyler Smith. Like, how excited are you seeing all this unfold? Because he's going to be probably in the same boat next year. And Tyler's a different cat. Like, he's homegrown. He's from Fort Worth. But still, like, he's approaching best at his position type status, and that's going to command a lot of money. And so it's hard not to, picture that we're going to be in the same boat with somebody. It's always going to be somebody year after year when these contracts come up, because to the Cowboys' everlasting credit, they're pretty good at drafting. They've had a couple of down years, but they're pretty good. So they end up having to, they end up in the situation a lot. And I think we should probably get into some of the, I think it was it this morning or last night, but Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons tweeting some things out. So
yes,
someone shared a photo of Micah and Trayvon 7-Eleven, and then I think it was Micah who quote tweeted it with, what was it, a GIF from Bad Boys 2. So like, well, one last ride or one more time or something. And so that had a whole bunch of Cowboys fans and their feelings about it, like what's going on. Is like, this is going to be the end for Micah too. I mean, but I think we should probably point out that Trayvon's future with the Cowboys is murky at best, just because of the way his contract is set up, and that the Cowboys, in theory,
they can get out of him basically after this year.
They can move on from him, and with the injury history, there is a thought that they could move on from him. And if that's the case, that kind of leads to, all right, this would be their last ride together, those two.
For that reason.
Correct. Not that they would both leave, but that, this presumably would be their last ride unless the Cowboys decided to, keep Trayvon, past this coming season. And then Trayvon was one of the defensive players who changed his profile picture to Micah Parsons today, sort of after that request for a trade. Wanye Thomas as well. I went through like a lot of the starters to see how many. A lot of them actually like aren't on Twitter because they're so young, and I feel like Twitter is really just for millennials and but some of them didn't do it, and I wonder if it's because they're either rookies or on rookie contracts and they just don't want to tick off the front office because maybe they'll have a contract coming up at some point, and maybe they just don't want to add.
Overshown did it.
Overshown is I could see Overshown getting re-signed by the Cowboys if he's healthy. So yeah, it's I found that
that's going to be the big caveat in his deal. But yes,
right. which is unfortunate because if he was healthy, he would be he would be in this boat in a year, 2 years. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of exhausting for us to just keep talking about it because I've been trying to figure out why did like Jerry's rationale. He talked about this the first day of camp, and it doesn't make sense. Like it, you know, Jerry at his infinite age of what is it, 82, going on 83.
82.
Yeah,
I'd be 83 in October.
The explanations for some of these contracts just doesn't add up. Like if you're not sure about a guy, then sure, wait until the last moment. Dude, you knew about Micah halfway through his rookie season. Like none of this is a surprise. He's not going to play the final year of his contract without an extension because players would be fools to do that for their long-term financial gain. So yeah, it doesn't make sense. I also don't necessarily agree with that Jerry took shots at Micah. In that press conference, he mentioned that Micah got hurt last year and that sometimes that factors into some of these decisions. But it's true. He did miss some time last year. I don't know necessarily if like in that context of the full answer that was a shot at Micah. But Jerry said time and time again, like he doesn't feel pressure to do these things. And I think it's because he's not in on the day-to-day negotiations of them. He's too busy operating the clown show.
And get
I think it's more
started.
Just like my perception of that. And I know we have to wrap up here soon.
But before we go to panel 5,
we've heard CD Lamb talk a number of times throughout
the technical panel might have a couple of questions for
days, OTA, stuff like that.
A few people on the panel to clarify some things. I also have a couple of questions which may spur a couple of member questions. So we'll do that now. I think I want to go back over drug and alcohol testing, and it's not because I think it was a factor here. It was not. At least we don't believe so. But this has come up on numerous investigations where testing wasn't done or alcohol testing hasn't been done, and so I want to talk about that for a second.
When it comes to games, and
yesterday,
I think that is something that is kind of a secondary.
That would be the most. That would get the dude sign and let him play some football.
That would be the most surprising outcome of all of this. None of this has been really surprising. What would be surprising is if Micah Parsons does not suit up for the Cowboys this coming season or following seasons. Yeah, that would be crazy, but I don't think that's happening.
I did see one person panic tweeting, "Wow, DFW is going to lose Luka and Micah in the same year." We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Let's see what the rest of the weekend holds. Jonah Javon, Michelle Montaigne, thank you guys so much. Thanks to all of you for watching here on WFA Plus. Coverage through the day, I promise you that, on the Micah Parsons saga out here in Oxnard.